What did you steal?
Secrets.
Disclosure Day is Steven Spielberg's best film in 20 years.
Are they people?
No.
Are they human?
My God.
Spielberg does this better than anybody in history.
I can see them. They're coming.
Disclosure Day, rated PG-13. Some material may be inappropriate for children under 13. In theaters Friday. Get tickets now.
Hey, this is William Tidcup and Ryan Leary, and you are listening, hopefully watching, the You Should Know podcast. Today we've got Kian on today from Workera, and we're going to be talking about assessments and bias. And so we're going to have a lot of little different things of where we go with this. So Kian, would you do us a favor, the audience a favor, and introduce yourself?
Yeah, first, thanks for having me, guys. And I'm Kian. I'm the CEO and founder of a company called Workera. I'm also an adjunct lecturer at Stanford University, where I teach neural networks, deep learning in the computer science department. And my passion is really at the crossroad of AI and what's happening right now in the workforce. The need for education, the need for reskilling, upskilling, all of that I think is very interesting, and we need a lot of help and technology to make it happen.
Ryan is adjunct professor at Stanford, a flex. Do we?
A little bit.
That's
But
not
he
SUNY.
deserves it.
That's not
He
SUNY
deserves
New
that.
York or SUNY Oswego.
If I even knew how to get to Stanford, I'd flex on it. Don't
I've
worry.
been on campus. I can say that. I've done a tour.
Yeah,
It's gorgeous. Absolutely gorgeous.
Kian, William and I, we talk all the time about this stuff, and it's AI in the workplace and AI and what it's doing in work and all of that. Why don't we start by just what are you seeing out there? What's the trends? What are you seeing? What's kind of giving you that feeling right now?
Are you thinking about heartburn or excitement?
I mean both, right? I mean you got experience on your own. You've got the students
Yeah.
at Stanford. Like, what are you seeing out there?
Yeah, that's cool.
Well, I mean, a few things. I would say, one is the direct impact of AI. It's like, the trends around, are some jobs going away? Are new jobs being created? The World Economic Forum has some of the best data in the world around that. They're saying by 2030, we expect still more jobs created than jobs gone by a margin of 78 million. But, who knows what these jobs are and who knows exactly what jobs are going away? People understand that customer support is getting highly impacted, but there's a lot more areas where we're not sure. And it's likely not automation as much as it is augmentation and part of the job tasks changing. On the other hand, what some people forget is the indirect impact of AI. The indirect impact of AI is that AI moves so fast. Things move at a crazy pace. And if you wake up every day and you look at the news, there's a new model, there's a new capability that may change the equation for companies and for people in their careers. There's a metric that summarizes that called the half-life of skills. Half-life of skill is like, how long is a skill useful in your career? Many years ago, you could learn one skill and have it for 10, 20 years, and you'll be good. That age is gone, and I think today it's around 2.5 years. In digital areas, it's very low, which means that the indirect impact of AI is we need to learn all the time, all of us, if we want to stay relevant. And so, I think people oftentimes forget about that.
Yeah, it's when people used to, when they'd introduce themselves and they'd say, "I'm a lifetime learner." That was like a differentiator. Now that's like, if you're not a lifetime learner, you're unemployable.
Yeah, it's table stakes at this point.
Yeah. Too funny. All right, we want to talk about assessments. So tell us about the world of assessments as you're seeing it right now as well.
Yeah, I mean, assessments, I would say historically are known as stressful situations. Like, you're being tested to get in a university, to get in a school, to get in a job. And I think it's very unfortunate that it's known like that, because actually assessments are so powerful for you as an individual or for a company. because learning starts by learning about yourself and learning what are your gaps, what are your strengths, and how can you act on it. And so the whole reframing that me and my team are working on is to sort of reinvent assessments in a way that empowers people in organization to run better their workforce, to run better their careers, to make decisions that are fair and meritocratic. And so I think it's super fascinating, but really working against a history of assessments that have felt stressful and opaque to a certain extent.
Yeah, the IO psychologists, the folks that come out of SIO, they've used assessments as a screen out tool for
Mhm.
so long. And Ryan and I have talked about this in the past of like, why don't the candidates get three things? An understanding of what's being assessed. Just like here's a broad overview. It's a behavioral assessment. We're trying to figure out blah blah blah. Two, here's how long it's going to take. It's going to take, and we lie to them and say it's 5 minute survey. It's a 5 minute bit. It's never 5 minutes. So giving them a kind of a real understanding of what it's going to take, what it's measuring, what it's going to take, and then giving them a copy of what it means to them and what they can learn from it. Like there's most of the market doesn't do that. Doesn't do those three things in particular, but for sure doesn't give them a copy of their assessment.
Yeah. I mean, you're perfectly right. I would even say start with why. Why am I being assessed? What's in it for me? What are the
Oh, that's
rewards?
nice.
If I'm hitting a certain score, what are the rewards? Because again, people think of assessment as in hiring, but for us, we call it skill intelligence. We don't call it assessment. We call it skill intelligence because it applies in learning. It applies in everywhere where you're trying to, get rewarded to display a certain behavior, skill, or trait. And so starts with why. And then again, you said what is being measured. That's called competency modeling. It's the competencies that you're going to measure me in. And then going one level down, how it's being measured. Today, part of the revolution is that we measure with multimodal AI. So we have an interface that can speak to you. If it's measuring certain type of skills, it may ask you to draw something on a whiteboard. It may ask you to code. It may ask you to problem solve. It may ask you simple multiple choice question. The range of cognitive levels that we can measure is way more than what we could do even 5 years ago or 10 years ago. And that's revolutionary as well. Yeah.
How do we build, and I think you've answered this, I think a little bit, but maybe go a little deeper. How do we build trust in assessments? And I ask that because I was with Connexa a long time ago, and I spent some time on the assessment side. And this was like eons ago where we had the IO psychologist actually getting on the phone to do the assessment with the person, right? So not an internal use of the tool itself, but nobody ever trusted. They never trusted them.
The
There was always
recruiters, you're talking about the recruiters didn't trust it.
no, the candidate, like that
Oh,
candidates,
okay.
and yeah, or even the employees going through assessments internally, but
Interesting.
we really weren't measuring skills internally at the time, right? It was just screening people out. Exactly what William was saying. And I think that's built a lot of bad trust, ill will through the years. How do we get past that? How do we build that trust?
Yeah, that's a key question. And so two things. One, if I had to give you the TLDR, it's transparent design, continuous auditing, and then finally human in the loop to fix the AI system. So those are the three buckets, if you will. But now, if I get more concrete, what are we working against? Like, what's our bar? Our bar might be traditional assessments that are multiple choice based. And, turns out multiple choice based assessment are very valid and they're very good in many cases. People don't know it all the time, but they're very valid. They're just so dry and they're not reflective of the real world task. So people would say,
Right.
you have a great trusted assessment, but does it measure actually the construct that it was supposed to measure? So that's another question. But we can work against traditional assessment, or you can work against the human, because the human is imperfect. I tend to say there is a bug and humans have it. Like bias is a bug and humans have it, because people tend to, rate highly people that look like them, that sound
Oh
like
yeah.
them, that
Mhm.
believe in things that they believe in. So you're not working
Sherm
against.
has 7 defined biases. hiring biases that they lump in. I'm sure there's more, but SHRM, they've literally got 7 in their kind of knowledge book of knowledge, and so they'll like me bias, the latency bias, all that stuff. So again, there's going to be bias, and this is actually really uh, something that Ryan and I wanted to talk to you about. There's human bias, and there has been human bias in hiring since the beginning of hiring, or the beginning of humans, depending on your point of view. So, are we ever going to, even with AI, are we ever going to get rid of bias, or does the bias change?
I don't know. Honestly, that's a difficult question. I think what we know though is I'm fairly confident. I could say very confident that AI is less biased than humans and is the partial solution to the problem. The thing is, um, if someone is racist, they're not going to wake up a day and not be racist suddenly. You know what I mean? So
Hmm.
Yeah,
it
that's
takes
fair.
a long time, a freaking long time for people to change. AI doesn't take time. If you actually know what's the problem and you go and you fix it, it will change overnight by definition. And so it's easier to fix AI than to fix humans. For that reason, we expect that, as we're starting to fix AI more and more, it's going to pass the threshold where no single human, no group of human will be less biased than an AI. On top of that, think about these large companies that have, hundreds, thousands, sometimes tens of thousands of managers that are rating their employees, that are hiring people, even if they're trained as much as you can on interviewing and on talent management, they're probably all running a different rubric, even if they're trying to stick to the same rubric. So, even from a consistency standpoint, better to have one system than 1,000 different systems, right?
Yeah,
Better.
that's the standardized interviewing so that everybody hits the same or similar experience so that you can judge them in a same or similar way, right?
Well, the method I think needs to be standardized, but the actual assessment can be reflective of the role and the person that you're considering. So the topic of the
Right,
assessment, the competencies might change all the time.
right.
Yeah,
But
but
if
So,
you're, oh, go ahead, Ryan.
I'll say, so the question I have then is when I'd say when the machine, so when the AI, when the machine tells someone that they're not ready for the role or the promotion, who actually owns that decision? Is it the AI? Is it the creator of the assessment? Is it the employer themselves? Who owns that?
well, I tell you that I'm not a legal expert, but you have a cascade of things. You have are there lawyers
Sign the
in the room?
waiver
No.
before the question. There we
Fair
go.
enough, fair
No, but
enough.
I think you have different responsibilities for different layers of the
Yeah.
application. So you have the foundational model providers that are responsible for certain safety measures on their models. You have the application provider like us that's responsible for other things, and then you have the employer that's actually using the tool, who's responsible for what are you using it for? Are you being clear about the use case that you're using it for? And so that would require different levels of stakes to be vetted and validated. But if I think that employees or candidates should have a way to contest the result, and you should
Oh,
have
that's cool.
that's where the human in the loop comes in, and would tell you, we've reviewed your contesting of the result, and we don't agree with you, unfortunately, or we agree, and in fact you allowed us to fix the AI, you allowed us to make our system better for the next candidate that's going to come, or for the next employee that's going to use that assessment for learning purposes.
Right.
Yeah.
I want to read something to you. Ryan and I do a news show called The Barf, and this was a story that came up, and I want to get your take on it. So, 7 of 11 AI superstars recently hired by Meta were poached from OpenAI. And
Mhm.
this is a quote from the actual report. At the heart of Meta's talent acquisition strategy is a direct, personal, and relentless involvement of the CEO, Mark Zuckerberg. In a departure from standard corporate recruiting protocols, Zuckerberg has positioned himself as the chief recruiting officer for the company's AI ambitions. His methods are highly unorthodox for the leader of a Fortune 500 company, reflecting a sense of urgency and a belief that securing the right individuals is a task too critical to delegate. though that's a quote unquote. The source is Clover, KLOVER.ai. If you the audience, if you want to read more about it. But Kian, when you hear that, what do you think?
One, Zuck is smart, whether you agree with him or not.
Don't bet against them.
He knows what he's doing.
Yeah.
So a few things. One is people get stuck on the amount that these people are paid. But the truth is, it's a small fraction of what they're going to use for compute. Like when you're given a budget of X million to train an AI model, your salary is just a small piece of it. So to someone like Zuckerberg, it's easy for him to give more money to the researcher than give them like twice more budget, you know. So that's the one thing on the actual amount they're getting paid. The second aspect is it's a talent war in AI, and those skills are in shortage. You can count maybe on more than your fingers, but you can count the people who are able to train a large scale algorithms and deploy them at the scale of humanity, pretty much, you know, hundreds of millions of people. And so they know who they are, and they're going after them to bring that talent in, which, and he believes it's going to pay off over time, and he has a vision for it. So totally understand. Now, to bring us back to what does it mean for society, and can we expect that to continue? I do think that it is healthy to get in a skills-based meritocracy where your skills determine how much you get paid. And the same way we have to get used to certain skills getting a huge premium at times, we will have to get used to other skills getting not a premium, and actually salaries going down on other skills. I think it may be shocking to a lot of people today, but in the future it might feel more like the NBA or some sport where you do a great season and you're highly valued on the market, and you do less well later on and you're less valued. And I think it will be healthy because it will create incentives for people to learn and to have that learning mindset that is lifelong, if you see what I mean.
How's that for pay equity? We were just talking on a previously on pay equity and how do we close the gap, and here we are. We're like, we can go 100 million more than you.
Well, pay equity might become less about the final number and more about the skills.
Skill equity, yeah.
Yeah, because I think
you could still have so I think if the default is skills-based pay, you're paid based on your skills. First, it requires a very good measurement layer, which is what we work on, really good measurement layer that is trusted. Secondly, you can always have programs which some may call like positive discrimination, or others that called programs like universal basic income, which might give people the time to learn. Maybe your skill are descending in value. We will pay you to give you the time to learn, and society is comfortable with that. We'll give you the time to learn the next skill, essentially.
All right, two things. Oh,
no, go
Brian. Two things that come to mind is, how do we assess for potentiality? And how do we assess for character?
It's a tough one. My
Sorry, I left all my easy questions on the last show. You know what I'm saying? Both of them are difficult questions. I get it. And that's why I asked, because someone might know when we're assessing them, they might not have that skill. However, skills can be taught. So training and development, learning and development, LMS, all of that experiential type stuff that comes behind it. If I can get a gal or a guy that has the potential to learn those skills, how do I know that? How can I pick that out of the list of all the people that have applied, and that type stuff, and then character?
Let me start with potential and it's my answer is not going to be perfect, but I'll tell you what our customers do today, and we're excited about it, even if it's not the end solution. So today we have a metric that we measure called learning velocity. So you measure someone in January and you measure them in March. You compute the difference in skills, and that would tell you how much they improved.
Yeah.
You don't care about what happened in the middle. Someone may have taken a podcast, someone may have been coached, someone may have learned a
Doesn't matter.
course.
Mhm.
Doesn't
It's
matter.
it's outcome based. Who
It's the
cares?
velocity. It's the velocity. Exactly. It's outcome based. So that's part of what might be a part of potential. Maybe someone who has a high learning velocity, you will have a higher confidence that they may have high potential for something. On top of that is the skill adjacency. So, I might look at your skill today and say, the project that I want to give you, do you have the potential to achieve success in that? I will look at your skills today that might be different from those skills, and I will look at the adjacency. Do I know the connection between those skills to be able to say, I have a pretty high confidence that William, you're gonna be good at that project because I know you have a high learning velocity, and I know that your skills are fairly adjacent to that project. You see what I mean?
Does any of that come down to personality? Like dealing with ambiguity, dealing with agility, dealing with change management, dealing with some of these things that we're talking about. Does any of that come down to some people's personalities are just not fit for that?
Well, I would split it in like you can measure personality as well, but there's assessments that are for that specifically. We don't do much of that, but there's assessments to measure: are you extroverted, are you introverted, etc. Which is more of a self-assessment than an assessment. But
Mhm.
Yeah.
so that might be measured, and then ultimately there are jobs where personality traits play in the performance on the job. Like companies have different opinions on it, but some companies say if there are certain traits of your personality. Right now in Silicon Valley, the high agency approach, like it's very hard to measure high agency, and that's why even in an AI driven hiring process, you would probably split the skills or competencies that AI is less biased than humans at measuring, and you would actually let the human measure some of those where AI, we just don't know how to do it.
Mhm.
So
Right.
probably the human is the proxy for the hard stuff that is more, sometimes a gut check, sometimes you trust the person, sometimes you feel like the person would, align with the values that you want them to have on the job. So, I'm not an expert at that part, but I think humans will continue to focus on that for a long time for now.
Yeah. Do you see a world or a time where, and we've talked about this in the past, where candidates or employees, I should say, employees own their assessment data and they take it with them, almost like a verified like skills passport. So they leave company A, they go to company B, but they take that with them.
Absolutely. 100%.
It's like a suitcase.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the idea of a meritocratic version of LinkedIn that is not based on what you write about yourself,
What it
but
actually
based
is.
on verified skills is tremendous, and it's going to help a lot of people stand out that don't have a good way to stand out today.
I think, Ryan, if we ever get to a point where blockchain becomes more normal than not, and having verified skills there, accredited verified skills, will help a lot of people. It'll because then they've got that little satchel passport you called it. They've got that thing that can go to any employee, any
And
employer,
it goes with
and
them.
it's verified. I think that's the key is the difference between what we have in LinkedIn is self-reported and gamed on all levels.
And
And so it's having something that's third party verified, and I think that helps people.
And I would tell you, yes, and I would tell you that, in the early days of LinkedIn, it was a little hard for people seeing companies let their employees put their job on LinkedIn. And over time, they, it became normal. Like, yes, you let your employees have a LinkedIn profile. You don't prevent them from having it. I think the same thing will happen with the skills passport. But maybe with not every skill. When you join a company, there are certain skills that are durable skills that you show, that you will take with you. And sometimes within our customer base, they measure highly custom skills that can't be shared out there. Like you get tested on certain manufacturing processes that are unique to your way of work. That I don't think you'll be able to share everything, but I think you'll be able to share some of the skills that are portable, that are durable, that make
Right.
sense across companies, etc. Yeah. Wow.
Non-proprietary things as well. Um, so I guess the question I want to ask is if someone's buying your technology right now, what questions should they be asking you? Like, because they've grown up with traditional assessments. This is different than traditional kind of assessments that they've dealt with for the last 40 years. So what should they be asking? What's the questions that they should be asking? What should they know differently than what they've done in the past?
Yeah, great question. I would say, um, how do we deploy an assessment in a way that's empowering to our workforce, that flips the mindset of people, like creates change management? I'll give you one example. Before every assessment, people self-rate themselves. We ask them, like, where do you think you are?
Genius.
And then at the end, we tell them, here is where you actually are. And then that actually creates change in their willingness to learn and their openness to change. So, one question might be that. Another one will be, assessments have been, I guess, if you look at a company, they might have 20 different assessment systems with different methodologies that are running. Some are video based, some are text based, some are multiple choice. How does one method scale across all skills? Any skill, any language, any moment, hiring, upskilling, project resourcing, etc. So, deployment questions because it's new to them. And then validity, like how do I differentiate a quiz that I just generated from ChatGPT with an actual assessment where you're telling me that you think this person has that skill and this person has not that skill? That validity question is very important. And I'm never going to say we have full validity. You can trust 100% of what we say. But I would tell you there are methods, there are features, there are technologies that we put in place to make sure we can defend our validity, essentially. And I think that's a very important question as well.
Do you find that assessments motivate employees? So when using them internally like this, they go through the assessment, they're being assessed at a point in time. Does that motivate them to get better or see potential in themselves?
You have a set of employees that are power users that are inherently going to take assessment again and again because they like to challenge themselves and they like to know where they stand. They're very comfortable with knowing that. You have other employees where the key will be what's in it for me. You will have to tell them, what are my incentives? Like, if you get that score in that new Python area, you will get a brown bag lunch with your VP. Maybe one example. I have on the other end of the spectrum companies that say, we'll pay you cash once you reach that score. So the incentives that you create, I call them the carrots, are going to be compelling to these employees. And the more carrots you have, the better. And then, of course, the assessment design, the experience, the UI, what they get out of it is going to also play a part in their excitement for being assessed. The other thing I'd say is shifting the mindset of employees from reaching a defined target versus completing a course is extremely important in the years to come. The old way of delivering content, if you say last decade, is a manager says, I like this course. Everybody should take this course. It takes 40 hours. And you're like, damn it, I don't think I need that course. It's not relevant for me. It's too easy. It's too hard. And then 10 people do it and you collect stories from these 10 people. I think the change here has to be, we'll ask you to reach a score and there's a reason for it. It's tied to certain rewards and there's a business reason for it because it's tied to certain projects or OKRs. And then I let you take the assessment and maybe you'll reach it within the same day. Maybe you'll have a learning plan of 3 hours. Maybe you'll have a learning plan of 20 minutes and you'll get there and you're going to get your reward. I think that's a much more healthy, targeted, and faster way to upskill. Yeah.
Yeah, I love the carrots because you got the punitive, you got the sticks as well. But as long as as long as you give them a clear path to incentives and you've communicated that, most people are going to say that and say, I can make more money. I can get to another level where I might be promotable to another position. I'm in.
Yeah.
I think the thing is making it more like you did at the very beginning, making it more about skills and less about, because skills, again, you tie that to learning and it's like, here's where you are. Here's how you get to the next place. So the next time you take the assessment, make sure you do these things, whatever they may be.
Yeah.
I absolutely love that.
Got a question. I want to look at how to roll these out. So we've what's the best way to say it? So we've seen things fail, right? For adoptions, like adoption reasons, and it just doesn't get rolled out well. So I mean, obviously, there's a huge value for a company to bring assessments in and to run and do all this stuff. How do you bring this into an organization that just doesn't have this right now? How do they leverage this?
I want to answer before Kian does.
Oh,
I
Jesus.
think I no, well,
William
I don't.
helping me out here.
I'm
I
gonna
don't
try
know.
to.
He might not be.
No, you probably will hate everything that I say. So let's
You
just
want me to hit
preface
the
that.
mute button on him real quick?
No, no. Here's the
I
deal.
can.
I think we need to. The word assessment has so much as it relates to hiring. It has so much toxic baggage that's associated with it. I think we need to kill that word. And I think we talk about skills and then we come up with another word that helps them understand what we're really doing. Evaluation, testing, there's other synonyms that we can use. But the word assessment, in my humble opinion, is I think if you say assessments, recruiters are getting tone deaf, hiring managers are tone deaf, executives are tone deaf, and candidates are tone deaf. So I think the sooner we shift away from saying the word assessment, like how quickly can we kill the word assessment and make it about skills and then whatever that next word is to explain
Yeah.
what we're doing,
Well,
that
it
is an
often
assessment.
because it often ties to the pre-employment, the hiring process,
Right. Yeah,
right?
which is a screen out. But understanding where people are with their skills inventory, whatever. I think when we use the word assessment, you've already got a bunch of faces in corporate America that are just gonna be like, yeah, I've been down this road. But anyhow, Keon, that's my opinion. So take that, throw it all away. You have your own opinion.
No, it's great insight. And to start there, um, so assessment is the thing that you're using, is the product. It's not the value. So even what our product is, we call it the Sage, the AI mentor, because assessment is one of the things that a mentor has in its toolkit. And it turns out that that if a mentor can't assess you, it can't really mentor you well. So assessment is one of the critical piece. Measurement, the capability to measure in a trusted and precise way, is one of the key capabilities of the best mentors in the world. And so that's what we're talking about here. Now, when it comes to deployment, there are strategies that I recommend. In fact, the majority of customers are going to deploy with us in two phases. The first one is focused on AI. Everybody's undergoing an AI transformation. AI is a skill that most people do not have. It is easier to get verified and mentored on a skill that you're not supposed to have today, but we want you to have next year. Then if I assess you on something you're supposed to be doing 30 years ago and you're an expert at. So companies today run a set of badging programs with our AI mentor on understanding AI, applying AI, and building AI. Of course, not everybody will get to the building AI. Everybody would at least go to the understanding AI level, and we'll certify them in AI, in Gen AI, and in responsible AI. And then as you get at the top of the pyramid, you'll start certifying people on how they build an agent, how they deal with language models, how they apply or use APIs. These things are more for a narrow group. So that's the first step. We have a pyramidal framework. You can benchmark and upskill fast everyone on AI stuff, and people love it. The second question is any other skill. What about other skills? Our product managers need to be good at product on top of AI. Our marketers, they need to be good at demand generation on top of AI usage for content generation. So then those custom use cases is about how do we teach the enterprise to create mentorship assessment experiences that are fun and empowering, give insights to people, set the bar high for everyone. And that's the custom capabilities that we have that are sort of the second part of our deployments typically. Oh.
I got two questions. Ryan, do you got something?
Go ahead. I'll wait.
Patiently. You'll wait patiently. Okay, so first of all, we're having this conversation a year from now. What are we talking about?
We're talking about how much the workforce has progressed in AI readiness. We're talking about the average learning velocity of our country. We're talking about
Our country versus other countries.
yeah, I mean regions of the world, like how
Yeah,
fast are people learning?
that would
I
be
think this
cool.
is I think this is a critical competitive differentiator for companies, for or any organization, their learning velocity. So by next year, we'll have way more benchmarks than we have today. And I think we'll talk about how assessments have been reinvented, you know, for the better.
I'm going with the word measurement. So I've made
Measurement.
the decision during
Yeah,
this last 5 minutes that skills measurement,
here you go.
and
You called it.
and then because again it's measurement. I mean, there's no end to that measurement. Um, the other question is do you believe you could get when you sell to a client, do you think you could get the executive team and the board to do an assessment?
Yeah, it starts at the top. I've said that many times, and I still stand by it. So it turns out actually the worst way of doing AI change management is when leaders pretend that they know AI. They pretend that they know AI, and then everybody pretends, and then you end up, and that's not my words, it's one of our customers. You end up with a bunch of dangerous amateurs. Um, and so to me, it starts at the top. It starts by leadership, showing what score they're at today, how much progress they're making, and making people feel safe about it. Because it's not about pointing fingers. It's about knowing your baseline, knowing your gaps, and then running toward the target. Pretty
I
much.
love it.
Um,
Yeah. What's the risk of over assessing? Do we kill creativity? Do we stop the employee from actually being creative and thinking if we over assess and put too much in their head?
you can actually assess creativity, and you can assess this and quantify it. But I would say the question is more like, how do you define people's jobs? Like, people's jobs are made of tasks, and certain job actually require very rigid set of tasks where you need to be master at it and you just need to execute. Other jobs, they need a significant portion of their time and tasks that are more fuzzy, they're less interpretable. You can still measure the underlying construct that you're looking for. Like,
Right.
I have people in our team that are way more creative than I am, so be it. Like, they're in roles where their creativity can like shine, but that can also be measured. So I would not equate the role and the tasks with essentially the construct that you need to be measuring in the first place.
Ryan, I think you were getting to fatigue. If I
Fatigue, yeah.
understood it, like measurement fatigue.
Yeah, the
So,
risk of over
Kian,
assessing and
it's a
fatigue. Yeah.
wonderful question of how frequently can we do measurement without making the employee like hate measurement.
No,
So we don't
absolutely.
want them to hate that. So there's got to be a every 6 weeks, every month, every 3 weeks, or when they get to a certain point. I don't know what the answer is, but
Yeah.
Ryan's right.
Yeah.
We've seen it in our lives with the fatigue of a lot of what they like hell employee satisfaction surveys. We went from once a year to then maybe twice a year, and then all of a sudden we skipped all the way to daily.
Yeah. It's
We're
like
going
every
to
time
ask
you
you,
go to the bathroom, you hit the smiley button or
yeah,
not.
you got, and so what we've seen in that space, which is different from yours, but is fatigue. Employees get fatigue, the executives get fatigue, everyone gets fatigue, and then all of a sudden it means less or is meaningless, whatever that may be. I think that's where he was trying to drive you,
Yeah,
was
yeah,
to
yeah.
understand
Understood.
under how frequent before we start really pissing off the employees.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, you imagine you're being watched at all time, and everything you do, it doesn't make any sense. Like, there's so many things that are not even measurable, and there's also things where you don't want to be measured at all time. You want to be able to show off your progress. That's what you want to be able to. And
Right.
that might mean every month you have an assessment that benchmarks your progress. Every year, every 6 months. I think that depends on the pace of the organization, the need of the business, and then you have the self-directed aspect, which can be on a daily basis. Like, some users, they need it on a daily basis, but that your manager doesn't see your score. There's permission levels on the platform, so that my manager can't see my score. My manager can see the team score or the organizational score, and I'm doing whatever I want with my mentor, and my mentor is benchmarking my progress, and I get that feedback, and I can turn it off, and so I think that's where the future will be. Is like there will be some formalities, and there will be a lot of self-directed that is safe, and
If I'm hitting new levels, Ryan, I want everybody in the company to know that I'm hitting new levels, especially if I'm already ahead of them.
Oh, you want to
I
raise
oh yeah, I want to put that somewhere where everybody's
He
seeing
he likes the humble brag.
it. Yeah.
I like
I just got to level 240. I don't know where y'all are. Yeah. Kian, this has been absolutely wonderful.
Yes.
Thank you so much for coming on the show. It's just been a great show, and we appreciate you.
No, it was fun. Thanks, William. Thanks, Ryan. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. And thanks for the audience. Until next time.